Imagine for a moment that every tiny action you take, every sip of water instead of soda, every 5 minutes of meditation, every single time you choose kindness over anger, creates a ripple, a vibration that extends far beyond the walls of your room. This is not just a poetic thought, it is deeply rooted in science. Quantum physics shows us that reality itself is influenced by the smallest units of energy, and in the same way, your life is shaped not by grand, dramatic changes but by the subtle, microscopic habits that compound over time. These seemingly insignificant choices accumulate, magnify, and then come back to you in ways you could never have predicted. This is what I call the quantum ripple effect of tiny habits, a principle that can reshape not only your personal destiny, but also the entire web of reality around you. Think about a still pond. When you throw in the tiniest pebble, ripples spread outward, touching every corner of the surface. The pond doesn't discriminate. It responds to the smallest disturbance. Your daily life functions the same way. Every small habit you perform is like dropping a pebble into the field of your existence. You may think your decision to wake up 10 minutes earlier or to write down 3 lines of gratitude is too small to matter. But in the quantum field, everything matters. Energy does not vanish, it transforms, amplifies, and interacts with the energy of others. Your small, consistent habits send ripples into your health, your finances, your relationships, and your spiritual alignment. And while you may not notice the change immediately, over time, those ripples turn into waves that redefine the shorelines of your reality. The magic lies in consistency. Quantum mechanics tells us that particles behave differently when they are observed repeatedly. Similarly, habits work like the repeated observation of your intentions. When you choose to perform an empowering action every single day, you are in effect observing a version of reality where that action is normal, natural, and inevitable. Slowly, your subconscious rewires itself to align with that version of you. For instance, 1 minute of conscious breathing practiced daily doesn't just calm you in that moment. It begins training your nervous system to default to calmness. Over weeks and months, this tiny shift ripples into your ability to handle stress, improve focus, and even expand creativity. A habit doesn't just change you. It changes the quantum probability field of who you are becoming. Now, let's explore how this ripple effect extends beyond you. Every interaction you have with another person is an exchange of energy. When you cultivate tiny habits that improve your mood, your presence, your clarity, you alter the energetic signature you radiate. Smile at a stranger because you've built a micro habit of gratitude, and you may unknowingly brighten their day. That stranger may then carry that positivity forward, affecting their family, coworkers, and friends. This ripple expands exponentially. Science calls this the butterfly effect, but in quantum terms, it is the entanglement of energy. Your tiny habit doesn't just change your life. It has the potential to alter the trajectory of countless others. Imagine the ripple of just one person consistently practicing kindness. Imagine if millions did it. Here's the most empowering truth. The universe responds more strongly to consistent frequency than to occasional bursts of effort. Just like water eventually wears down stone through gentle persistence, your tiny habits reshape reality through their steady repetition. Want to change your financial destiny? Start with a daily habit of saving a single dollar. Want to rebuild your health? Begin with drinking 1 extra glass of water a day. These micro shifts may seem laughably small, but in the quantum field, frequency is what creates resonance. The vibration you repeatedly emit eventually collapses into physical reality. You don't need to climb the entire mountain in one leap. You only need to take a step every day. Those steps, amplified by the quantum ripple effect, become unstoppable momentum toward transformation. When you examine history's greatest transformations, you'll notice they rarely started with grand, sweeping acts. Instead, revolutions, whether scientific, cultural, or spiritual, were sparked by tiny, persistent actions. The invention of electricity didn't begin with skyscrapers glowing at night. It began with small, repeated experiments. The space race didn't start with astronauts landing on the moon. It began with tiny calculations scribbled in notebooks. Your life follows the same principle. You don't become a new person in one dramatic burst. Transformation is born from the micro adjustments you weave into your days. Each one is like a quantum particle of change, small alone, but when compounded, they form galaxies of new possibilities. We often underestimate these tiny habits because our ego craves dramatic, visible results. We want the instant six-pack abs, the overnight financial breakthrough, or the sudden spiritual awakening. But quantum reality doesn't work that way. Energy builds gradually, layer upon layer, until a tipping point is reached. Imagine charging a battery. You don't see much at first, but eventually the stored energy bursts into light and power. Your habits are charging your life's battery. The glass of water, the 10-minute walk, the journal entry, the 2 minutes of meditation. These may look trivial in isolation, but in the unseen field, you're storing energy, raising your vibration, and setting up the conditions for quantum leaps to occur. What makes this ripple effect even more powerful is how it interacts with the subconscious mind. Neuroscience shows us that nearly 95% of our daily actions are automated by subconscious programming. This means your tiny habits are essentially reprogramming your subconscious code. And once that code changes, your reality changes automatically, without effort. Think of it like updating the software on your phone. A tiny download changes the way every single app runs. In the same way, a micro habit of gratitude, hydration, or focus updates your subconscious operating system. Suddenly, life begins to flow differently. Not because the outer world changed, but because your inner programming shifted. Now let's connect this to the idea of quantum resonance. Every thought, feeling, and action vibrates at a certain frequency. When you practice a tiny empowering habit, you are broadcasting that frequency consistently. Over time, the universe begins to echo it back to you. Start practicing a micro habit of writing down one financial affirmation each morning, and slowly your vibration aligns with abundance. You begin to notice opportunities you ignored before. You attract collaborations that match your new mindset, and your outer world starts to mirror your inner frequency. It's not magic, it's resonance. The field responds to the signal you send, and your habits are the tuning forks that set that signal. Think of this ripple effect like planting seeds. One seed alone doesn't look like much. You might even doubt it will grow. But with daily watering, sunlight, and patience, it eventually becomes a tree that produces shade, fruit, and oxygen for generations. Your tiny habits are seeds in the quantum field. Each time you repeat them, you water them. Each time you stay consistent, you give them sunlight. And eventually, they grow into realities that not only serve you, but also nourish others. The key is faith in the unseen process. You may not see the ripple instantly, but trust that every small action is registered in the field, waiting for the right season to burst forth. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing they must wait for motivation to start. But motivation is fleeting, it comes and goes like the weather. Habits, however, are the climate. They create the conditions in which transformation naturally unfolds. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning hyped about toothpaste. You simply do it because it has become part of your identity. This is where the quantum ripple becomes unstoppable. When your tiny habit no longer feels like a choice, but becomes who you are, it anchors itself into your energetic field. Suddenly, the ripple effect no longer depends on willpower. It has merged with your identity, and reality bends around that consistency. Consider the difference between action and identity. You can say, I want to run a marathon, and take action for a few days. Or you can build the identity of a runner by simply jogging 5 minutes daily. One is temporary, the other rewires who you are. In the quantum world, identity is everything. The field responds not to what you occasionally do, but to who you repeatedly declare yourself to be. If you practice the micro habit of writing one sentence each day, over time, you no longer want to be a writer. You are a writer. The ripple effect has locked in. Your frequency has shifted permanently, and opportunities, insights, and experiences aligned with that new identity begin to show up effortlessly. The quantum ripple of tiny habits also teaches us patience. In an age of instant gratification, waiting feels uncomfortable. But quantum shifts are subtle at first. Imagine tuning a guitar string. The smallest adjustment may seem insignificant, yet it changes the entire sound of the instrument. Similarly, when you practice a small daily habit, whether gratitude, journaling, exercise, or mindful breathing, you are tuning your vibration. The sound may not be noticeable to you immediately, but in the field, your frequency is changing. Days, weeks, or months later, the melody of your life begins to sound entirely different. Patience is not waiting idly. It is trusting the unseen ripples of your habits. Here's something fascinating. Your tiny habits don't just influence your future self. They ripple backward, reshaping your past narrative. Neuroscience shows us that memory is not static. Every time we recall an event, we rewrite it slightly. When you cultivate empowering habits today, they alter how you interpret yesterday. For example, a habit of daily gratitude doesn't only make you feel good now, it reframes past struggles as lessons instead of punishments. A habit of fitness doesn't just strengthen your body today, it transforms your self-image from the person who failed before to the person who always grows stronger. In the quantum field, time is not linear. Your tiny habits ripple forward into your future and backward into your past, creating a cohesive story of empowerment. Now let's talk about momentum. A single drop of water may seem powerless, but drops combined create rivers, waterfalls, and even shape canyons. The same is true of habits. One tiny action may not look like much, but string 100 of them together, and you unleash a force of nature. In physics, this is known as compounding energy. In life, it's the snowball effect. Each repetition of your habit adds weight to your identity, speed to your progress, and energy to your ripple. Soon, what once felt difficult becomes effortless, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The beauty of the quantum ripple effect is that momentum takes over, carrying you further than motivation ever could. One of the most empowering realizations is that tiny habits remove the excuse of time. People often say, "I don't have an hour to meditate," or "I don't have time to work out." But you always have 1 minute. You always have 30 seconds. And here's the secret: the quantum field doesn't measure effort by size. It measures frequency and intention. A 1-minute meditation practiced daily ripples more powerfully than a 1-hour session done once a month. A single glass of water every morning can change your hydration, your skin, your energy, and your health over years. By embracing micro habits, you align with the reality where change is not only possible but inevitable. The ripple effect also reshapes how we see failure. So many people quit because they break their streak. They miss a day, and they think it's over. But in the quantum model, missing a day doesn't erase the frequency you've been broadcasting. It only pauses it. Think of a guitar string that stops vibrating when you touch it. The potential for vibration is still there. The key is not perfection, but persistence. When you return to your tiny habit, you reignite the ripple. Failure is not the end, it is simply a reminder to return to your chosen frequency. And with each return, the habit becomes stronger because you are training resilience alongside consistency. Let's bring this closer to relationships. Tiny habits of connection. Sending one kind message a day, making eye contact when you greet someone, listening without interrupting. Seem small, but they ripple into bonds of trust, love, and intimacy. Families are healed not by grand apologies, but by consistent micro habits of presence and respect. Friendships thrive not on dramatic gestures but on small, reliable acts of care. Even global peace, if you zoom out far enough, could be seen as the compounded result of millions of tiny habits of compassion. Every relationship you have is a field of energy, and every micro habit you plant within it ripples outward in ways you cannot fully measure. Spiritually, the quantum ripple effect reveals that enlightenment is not a sudden lightning strike. It is the accumulation of small awakenings. A single mindful breath may seem insignificant, but repeated daily, it opens doorways to deeper awareness. Reading one line of wisdom, practicing one act of forgiveness, or spending one moment in silence every day compounds into profound transformation. Over time, these micro-habits lift your vibration so consistently that your entire consciousness shifts. You don't arrive at enlightenment, you ripple your way there. The universe honors persistence more than drama. The divine recognizes frequency more than intensity. So here is the ultimate truth: your destiny is not shaped by massive, rare actions but by the tiny, invisible choices you repeat daily. This is the quantum ripple effect of tiny habits. Every glass of water, every page read, every breath observed, every smile given, it all counts, it all ripples. And over time, those ripples collide, amplify, and create waves that transform your reality in ways your logical mind could never predict. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions. You don't need to make radical leaps. Begin with one tiny habit today. Trust the ripple, and watch as the universe rearranges itself around your frequency, proving that the smallest consistent actions create the most extraordinary destinies.